Welcome to the explainer. So, a vaccine gets approved. You might think that's the end of the safety checks, right? Well, it's actually just the beginning. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this incredible, hidden web of watchdogs working 24/7 to keep us all safe. And that is the perfect question to start with. I mean, it makes sense, right? These things are tested for years on tens of thousands of people. But here's the thing. Even a huge trial can't find a 1 in a million side effect. For that, you need to see what happens when millions of people get the vaccine. And that's when this whole other safety system just kicks into high gear. So here's our game plan. We'll start with why this constant monitoring is so essential. Then, we'll zoom right in on the watchdogs in your own country before pulling back to see the global team that backs them up. We'll even follow what happens when a potential problem is flagged. And finally, we'll talk about what this is all really built on. Trust. Okay, so why the constant vigilance? Why not just approve it and be done? It really comes down to one word: scale. Those initial trials, they're fantastic for finding common side effects, but for those super rare events, you just need a much bigger magnifying glass. You need to be watching the entire population, and that's exactly what this web of watchdogs is set up to do.
And this right here, this quote gets to the very heart of the matter. Think about it. Medicines are usually for people who are already sick, but vaccines? We give those to perfectly healthy people, babies, kids, adults, to keep them from getting sick. That just raises the bar for safety to an incredibly high level. Any risk, no matter how tiny, has to be understood, and that's the engine that drives this entire global system.
So, where does this all begin? Well, it starts right at home. The very first line of defense is a national safety net, and pretty much every country has its own team of guardians looking out for its people.
Exactly. At this national level, you've got a few key players, and each one has a really specific, important job to do.
First up, you've got the National Regulatory Authority, or the NRA. You can think of these guys as the main gatekeeper. They're the ones who give a vaccine the green light in the first place. But their job doesn't stop there. They're constantly checking up on how it's made and overseeing the whole safety monitoring system.
Then you have the National Immunization Programs, or NIP. These are the folks on the ground, the ones handling the rollout. They're obsessed with the details, making sure vaccines stay at the right temperature, that healthcare workers are trained properly, all the practical stuff that ensures everything is done safely.
So, what happens if someone reports a serious problem? Well, that's when the AFI Review Committee steps in. AFI just stands for Adverse Events Following Immunization. This is a special, independent group of scientists and doctors whose only job is to dig into these reports and figure out, without any bias, if the vaccine was actually the cause.
But here's where it gets really powerful. No country works alone on this. That national safety net is plugged into a much bigger global network that shares information and expertise across borders.
And that global teamwork is absolutely crucial. See, a very rare side effect might only pop up a couple of times in one country, which could look like a random fluke. But when you start pooling data from all over the world, suddenly you can see a pattern. This global team helps connect those dots.
And at the very top of this global team is the GACVS, the Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety. This is basically the world's Supreme Court of vaccine safety, and an independent panel of top experts who give scientific advice to the World Health Organization, especially when a safety issue could affect the whole planet.
Now this is brilliant. To share data globally, everyone has to be speaking the same language. That's where the Brighton collaboration comes in. They create standardized definitions for side effects. So, what counts as an allergic reaction in Brazil is defined and measured the exact same way as it is in Japan. It makes sure we're always comparing apples to apples.
And this global support isn't just for the scientists, it's for you too. The Vaccine Safety Net is a project led by the WHO that actually checks websites for you. It gives you a list of online sources that are credible and trustworthy, so you can cut through all the noise and find reliable information.
Okay, so we've met the national players and the global support team. But what does it look like in practice? How does the whole system jump into action when a potential red flag, a safety signal, gets raised? Let's walk through it.
It follows a very clear path. First, there's detection. Someone spots an unusual pattern. Then comes the investigation, where those national expert committees dig into the data. After that, they assess everything to see if there's a real link. And finally, and this is so important, they communicate what they've found, openly and transparently, to the public, to doctors, and to their global partners.
When you take a step back and look at all these different pieces working together, you realize this isn't just about collecting data. It's about something much more fundamental. It's about building and maintaining public trust.
At the end of the day, this entire structure, from your local doctor's office all the way up to that global expert committee, it's all one giant, super sensitive safety net. It's designed to catch even the absolute rarest of risks, to investigate them honestly, and to make sure that the incredible benefits of vaccines continue to far, far outweigh any potential harms.
So the system we have today is strong, but it's not set in stone. As science gives us new kinds of vaccines and as new health challenges pop up around the world, this network is going to have to evolve right along with them. It's a constant process of learning and improving, which is definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.